Hello class, welcome to your video assignment review. There seemed to be some confusion when I gave the instructions before, so I just thought I'd provide a video for you to illustrate what I mean by the questions that I'm asking and exactly what you're being asked of in this assignment. I just want to remind you that it's 25 points, so even though it's just a 60-second video, we need to take it seriously. Okay, so by the end of the video, you're going to have some clarification on the questions that you need to address in your videos, how to plan for your videos accordingly, and some tips and tricks that'll help you go through this process. I know it's new and it's the first one that we're doing, but don't worry, I'm going to help you out. So, what are the questions that I'm actually asking you to address? Well, the first one is, what influenced you to pair a literary device with a specific piece of information? So we know from our prompts, I gave you 3 different prompts, and I asked you to incorporate 3 to 4 literary devices in there. So what influenced you to pair that literary device with a specific piece of information? The second question is, how did this literary device help you illustrate your point? So there were several different points that you probably had to bring out in the 3 different prompts because they asked for various different pieces of information. So how did you use those literary devices to accomplish that? And last but not least, what made you reject other literary devices in favor of the one that you chose? So we'll talk about why this is important later. So back to the first question. When I'm talking about this first question, what influenced you to pair a literary device with a specific piece of information, the 2 words that you should be looking at the most are influenced and specific. So obviously you had different prompts which demanded different pieces of information from you. So you want to sort of think back to when you were first writing. What did you pull information from? Was it examples from texts that we went through in class? Was it information that was provided on the PowerPoint? And how did that information inform your purpose? So if you have your purpose in mind, it should be a lot easier to think about what influenced you for your big ideas. Okay. The second question we address is, how does this literary device help you illustrate your point? So obviously when you were thinking about your literary devices and how to pair them, you had to think about the connections that you needed to make. And so you probably had some questions, well, how is this going to play in? How do I make this relevant? There was a lot of things going on in your brain. So, as we said before, different prompts, different information. So that means you had different methods of incorporating these literary devices. When you were considering this, were you trying to make your reader see an image more clearly in their mind? Were you trying to invoke a feeling or, some sort of similar thought process in your reader? What were you intending? Last but not least, what made you reject other literary devices in favor of the one that you chose? So now, the important word in this one is reject, because we went over a lot of literary devices this week, and so you had a lot to choose from. However, not all of them are useful for everything. Just like in a regular toolbox, you wouldn't use a wrench when you needed a screwdriver. So, in a similar fashion, you would use repetition for emphasis. So you wouldn't use that in the first line you were saying, once upon a time, once upon a time, once upon a time. That is not effective. So instead, you were trying to use literary devices in an effective manner. How did you do that? And more importantly, why did you reject other literary devices in favor of the one that you chose? So for planning, it seems very simple, but there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. Number 1, you've got a time limit, 60 seconds. That sounds like a lot of time to be in front of a camera, but it's not a lot of time to be speaking. We've already gone over 2 minutes right now, and I haven't really said much to you guys. So think about that. You don't want to put too much information in too small of a span, but instead you just want to give your audience enough to think about. Second of all, I'm asking you to apply 3 different questions to one instance of a literary device in your prompt. I'm not asking for 3 questions, 3 different literary devices. Don't get confused with what I'm asking for here. And lastly, what are you going to actually include in the physical video? And how are you going to prepare for it? Are you going to have a script? Or are you just going to do bullet points and use those to bounce ideas in front of the camera. Are you going to have a visual? Are you going to have no visual? What's your body language going to look like? You want to be deliberate in everything that you're doing. Last but not least, some tips and tricks. Keep it sweet and simple. Simple enough so that anybody can follow what you're saying. Sweet in that it's appealing to your viewer. You don't want to overthink this. It's a simple assignment. I know it seems daunting, but it's really, really easy. Second of all, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. I can't stress this enough. It is so important that you know what you're going to say before you step in front of the camera. As I said on the assignment sheet, you only get 2 takes. That's 2 times to get it right. So this is really a pro tip. Pay attention to what I'm saying here and rehearse a lot. With those 2 tips in mind, I still want you to relax and have fun. This is supposed to be a different assignment that doesn't make you feel stressed, but instead gives you a chance to express yourself. So try to have some fun with this. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to remind you once again that I'm giving bonus points for using an instance of consonants or assonants. I'm going to give you 10 minutes of prep time before class, so even if you're struggling, it's okay. You'll have time to ask your peers questions and me. And also, we're doing individual portfolios this semester, so this is a video that could wind up in your final portfolio, so make it good. Obviously, you'll have a choice, but you still want to make sure that this is a product worth looking at. All right, I'll see you in class.